Facebook Live, what's up everybody? FD Gross is back. How's everybody doing? Enjoy this music while I set things up. I'm trying to make sure this appears on the event page. Hang tight. Alright, what's up guys? Chrissy, Freddie, how you guys doing? Can you hear me? Alright. Yeah, thumbs up. Woohoo! Alright. Whoa, look at that. I'm back. Alright, hopefully the connection will hold today. Yay, hearing and seeing me is a good thing. Ooh, yeah. Don't worry, we'll get back to that. But see, now I want to bring this to your attention real quick. You see in between my head, or both sides of my head, there's two cats. Those are actually the Lord and Lady that reside here at this home. We have Trixie Bella and Faustus. I can't remember the last name I gave him, but anyway, those are my two of my cats. I have another one too, but I don't have a tapestry of her. But those are the lords and ladies. Yeah, so hopefully I hope this feed goes through and doesn't crap out like it did the last 3 times I tried to do this in the 3 o'clock hour. But we're here now, Facebook Live, 5 o'clock. AF Stewart was just on, posting a whole bunch of stuff about her work. She's a fantastic writer. She's done all kinds of stuff, horror, fantasy, Christmas stuff, undead things. One of my personal favorite works of her is the Killers and Demons series. So if you get a chance to read that, they're nice short reads. It's a collection of anthologies of short stories. Very good stuff. So make sure you check your stuff out, because it's, like I said, we authors live off of you viewers, readers. I mean, that's what it's all about. We love to entertain, and that's why we're here. I mean, thank you. I want to say thank you for coming right now. So I don't know if my full lecture on Inquisition earlier went through, but I talked about a whole bunch of stuff, the meaning about Inquisition, monsters that appear in the book. And then I started to do a reading of chapter 3, which I didn't get to finish. I ran out of time because of technical difficulties, but that's okay. But we're here now, and one of the things I was talking about with the different chapters is that I'm reading is they were 3 prime examples of what Tenor goes through, and that's pretty much Tenor versus 3 adversaries. And sometimes adversaries aren't necessarily a person. They can be the environment, it can be a person, but it can also be a collective thought of people and politics and things like that. And then it also can be monsters, things, fantastical things not of this world. So hey Scott, I'm glad you're on. Good to see you, man. Glad you made it. So Scott Hale is another author. He's going to be coming on later, and he's going to be presenting his stuff. He's a apocalyptic writer, and his stuff is very good. I've read a couple of his books. Crazy shit in his books, which is really good. So hey Judy, how you doing? Thanks for coming on. So going back to the 3 prime examples, Again, chapter 3 was a prime example of the evil and environment that Iglesian's influence holds over the land of Ashton. Ashton is the land which Wolfgang partakes in his monster hunting, vampire hunting, that sort of thing. And recapping on what Inquisition is about Tenor Wolfgang and his sidekick Kronklich, who go on search for Tenor's missing son, who was kidnapped by a clan of vampires called the Carnal-Risi. Carnal-Risi are servant vampires to the late Lord Iglesian, who is now perished and dead, who Wolfgang killed about 16 years ago. So, but not in a way that most would think. So that is talked about, or brought up in Wolfgang, the first novel. But like I've said many times before, you don't need to read the first book to understand Inquisition. Inquisition is a book all on its own, but it is it's very long. It's very long, but enticing. It'll grip you. It's survival, vampire, horror, survival. Tenor and Kronklich go on a pretty long journey through the Cordova Mountains, which is the setting that it takes place, which the cover of the book is exactly what that is, the Cordova Mountains. So like I said, chapter 3 was a cap of Tenor versus the environment. He had to go through the Decameron Forest, encountered adders, which is a new type of monster that I introduced in the story. Evil demonic squirrels that feast on the living and the dead, kind of like the carrion scavengers that clear the forest undergrowth. Now I'll be doing chapter 9 in this segment, which is Tenor versus the people. And then later on tonight, at the end of the event at 8 o'clock, from 8 to 9 o'clock, I'll be doing a reading from chapter 20, which will be Tenor versus a vampire. So you get to see finally his encounter with one of the Carnal-Risi. So it should be interesting. If you have any questions for me, just post them on there. I'll answer them afterwards. I'm going to go ahead and get started on the reading now so I don't run out of time. It's already 5:12. So, and Heidi, thank you. You like big books? Well, this definitely is a big book. It's about 3 times bigger than the first book, Wolfgang. Yeah. So, hi Rick. Thanks for coming on again. Appreciate it. Yeah. So, and Mike Stiletto, thank you for coming on. All right. So I'm going to switch this over here to, while I do the reading, I'm not going to film myself reading. I kind of like to use my backdrop. So this is something that Deanna set up for me, which was very nice of her to do, and I appreciate it very much. Thank you, Deanna, for helping me out with this. Alright, so hopefully the camera doesn't fall over like it did in the last feed. That was unfortunate, but what are you going to do? So everybody can hear my voice? Good? Yes? Alright, I'm going to grab a drink of water, and then we'll get started. London says hi. That's my daughter. Hi, London. Your dad loves you. I have a special guest coming on later tonight at 8 o'clock. Aren't you wondering who that's going to be? Right. So, like I said, here we go. This is chapter 9 of Inquisition. Tenor versus the people, Tenor versus the town, however you want to label it. So, here we go. Inquisition live chapter reading by F.D. Gross. Here we go. The journey up the mountain path toward Delore is nothing short of cold winds and eagle cries coming from the Cordova mountain peaks. The more we ascend, the drier the air and the harder the ground become. Twice we are forced to circumnavigate fallen trunks of dead trees, dry rotted from the inside. The intense cold and lack of sunlight in the shadow of the mountain force us to pull our cloaks tighter around our shoulders, buckling forward to block the wind. In the distance, I hear the chimes of icicles, nature's ever-reminding presence of winter. It's been 3 days since I last saw Dorian, and my heart aches terribly for him. He's out there in the freezing cold somewhere on his way to Sunstone, a prisoner. A prisoner to those treacherous fiends. How long would it take them to reach the great white city before it was too late? I still can't wrap my head around it, the meaning behind it, the confusion. My son? Why him? The carnal Risi want my blood, but why not kill me instead? Why taunt me? The same 4 words enter my mind since the first time they were mentioned by Bronin, and more recently by Caesar. Blood of the father. The words emit shivers like the cold all around me. At midday I see the first lamppost marking the way to Delore, with its glass panes frosted over in ice and the snow collected at the top of the mount in large clumps. Evidence of the candle inside burns no longer. Poles made of bronze. I begin counting them, anticipating how many we will pass before reaching adequate warmth and shelter. My body aches. My body aches with the cold. Fatigue has settled in, and I know Kronklich must be suffering far worse. He hasn't slept for 2 days and 2 nights. I watch him chewing on ebon root as he passes into his mouth, forgetting the time, losing himself. The drug is going to kill him if it doesn't stop. I'm about to warn him of its harmful effects when I see the white smoke of cooking fire rising through the snow-covered trees. Everything is so bright in the refracting light of the ice. I raise my hand to shade my eyes from the glare. Gently, Kronklich brings the black stallions to a trot, adjusting the speed as to not alarm the townsfolk of our approach. Seldom do they receive visitors. Living so high up in the mountains, the unwelcoming journey is far from any tourist's desire. Unlike Widow, the outskirts of Delore are much different. We pass strong-looking men swinging heavy-ended axes. They split wood methodically while spitting over their shoulders. Each stroke cleaves a whole log in 2, proof that strength lies in the hard-working class of this town. They glare at us with caution as the wagon bounces along, its creaking suspension bringing us unwanted attention. The deeper we travel into Delore, the more our environment changes. Wooden cabins surrounded by fields of white, cobblestone walls stacked high onto second stories. The tops of trees stick out from the thick snow. Bronze lampposts appear more frequently. Carriages with large black canvases pass by, their drivers minding the side of the road. The road itself is riddled with ruts and holes from the constant wear of passing wheels and slush. "Why do you think they use bronze for the lampposts?" asked Kronklich, speaking for the first time since we entered the town. "I suppose to prevent replacing them all the time," I say. "Bronze slows the corrosion process." Patting out his Regent hat, Kronklich gazes about, seemingly intrigued by the quaint town. "Yes, quite understandable. But where do they get the material? Everything is very bronze." "You forget this is a mining town," I continue. "Most of the work is done in nearby caves. There is an abundance of copper and tin alloys, but neither of them holds well in the snow. That's why they mix the two to make bronze. It's the next best metal compared to steel." A driver pulling ore in a wagon passes us. Bronze is the driving force of Delore. Its commerce always has been. I remember visiting the taverns at night long ago, nights when I couldn't be with Diana. Most of the patrons were hard-creased workers, miners with their pickaxes, drinking their aches and pains away from the day's intense labor. They taught me more than I needed to know about ore. "'Tis a rugged lot, this town is," says Kronklich, sucking his teeth on the ebon root. We ride through the main road of town, meeting more traffic than ever before. Seems anyone who can afford to stay out of the cold insures it. Few people walk the snowy banks, and the few who do are wrapped in all manner of clothing. Men with top hats and thick black coats, women in long black dresses, thick woven shawls covering their pretty buns. It feels good to be around civilization again, even though it seems no one wants to talk. In fact, our presence in town seems to go unnoticed altogether. The people of Delore can't be bothered with the time of day. Maybe the cold has dulled their sense of decency. It was not like this last time I was here. As the wagon turns along a bend, the center square comes into full view through the light snow flurry. Patches of red brick peek through the snow-covered rooftops of gray stone and mortar. Cones reach high into the sky, tapering to sharp points, like fingers digging out of the snow. We pass a bank house, a butcher shop, and street front inns. But the building I seek lies beyond this common area, past the slow trickling river carving its way underneath the Hammond Bridge, past the white open field of Travesty Park. City Hall stands looming in the distance 3 stories high, lined with countless windows. It is a sight to admire. I don't see a church, says Kronklich as he guides the black stallions onto the circle road of Travesty Park. Their hooves clomp along the cobblestones, matching the other carriages passing by. There never was one, I say, watching a large wooden cross move past us. Situated in the center of the park, it looms above, towering over everything in the square, higher than the trees, higher than the lampposts. Some people crowd around its base, huddling together, keeping warm. I notice 2 men placing logs at the foot of the cross, stacking them neatly and carefully, as if the pieces of wood might break. Some of them look our way as we pass, staring at us with grim faces. I realize my fingers trace the iron bar on my belt. The hand of God fastened securely to my side. Such happy people, says Kronklich sarcastically under his breath. Despite the freezing cold, the smell of cooking meat lingers, forcing my stomach to churn. We would benefit from a decent meal and some rest, but the matter at hand is dire. Securing passage out of the mountains is crucial to finding my son. The train is the only way. As the wheels of the wagon creak over Hammond Bridge, I hear the flapping of banners overhead. Marked in colors of black and red, diamond-shaped decorate the flags. The familiar insignia of Delore is displayed all over the square. Wreaths made from rose stems cover the railing as we pass, preserved in frozen decorum. I cannot help to think some festival is being planned, and at that moment I speak nothing of it. Kronklich gazes at the banners and wreaths, chancing a fake smile every now and then to let me know he is thinking the same. Through a grove of leafless trees and cracked benches, we pull up alongside the massive City Hall building. Its 3 stories look down on us like a monstrous cave, covering us in its shadow. A circular fountain pool lies at the center of the one-way drive, circling the entire grounds. The water, still and flat, was probably one of the first things to freeze over when winter arrived. Countless carriages in their uniform black surround it now, nearly blocking it completely from sight. All manner of people come and go freely from the oversized oak doors, pushing out from the inside as they pass through. Businessmen carrying ledgers are among the most present, with their hair pulled back tight, tucked under top hats of varying colors. Climbing down from the wagon, we approach the building from across the drive, passing the important-looking men without so much a glance. Unlike the folk in the square, they simply move out of the way and continue on, some with a well-dressed lady on their arm, some with another man. "Excuse me, my good man," says one of the young fops, nearly running into me at the doorway. Attached to the man's arm, a beautiful young woman with long black locks curtsies. There is something alarming about her. Dark eyes, porcelain skin. I find myself staggering through the doorway like a drunk as we exchange glances, shocked at the resemblance to Diana. For a moment I drown in those eyes of twin abysses, and as I blink they are gone, for Kronklich bumps into me, forcing me to step into the foyer of City Hall. "Everything all right, Lord Wolfgang?" he asks in his formal public address. He begins adjusting the buckles of my dark leather coat, ensuring my weapons are hidden from sight. "Did you see that woman?" I ask, looking back through the doorway. Had I imagined it? "I did. You look as if you've seen a ghost." Maybe I did. Was my beautiful Diana now among the living once more? Probabilities flashed through my mind. Thoughts of my dead wife moving along the ice-combed streets of Delore, walking around the town where she was raised by a blacksmith for a father. I find myself filled with strange desire. That woman, my Diana. What is the matter with me? I shake my head. "Sorry," I say, putting my hand to my forehead. "It's nothing." I rub at my eyes as we walk into an immense first floor of long brown carpets and polished wood floors. Our boots tap along the hollow planks, drawing attention to us from all directions. I try not to think about what I saw, but my head keeps swarming with hope and doubt, back and forth like a game of lances. I am being foolish. She couldn't possibly be alive. I take notice of the strange decorations covering the walls, the rafters above, and even along the mantel of the immense fireplace far off in the distance. Masks. So many of them, so many masks. Every kind of imaginable lingering in the doorways and off the back of chairs. Even the large, winding staircases covered in them. Hanging from every railing post. Blues, silvers, gold, reds. Every mask has its own dimension, its own number of holes to see through. Some have 2 circles cut out for the eyes, and some with 3. One has a large beak for the extension of an impossible nose. Others have large pluming feathers of white with glittered gold and amethyst. The colors clash with the integrity of the vast room, yet no one seems to care. With so many groups of business people dressed in black clustered together, it's impossible to tell who is who, especially the person I need to speak to. By the bottom of the stairwell, a man standing at a wooden podium calls out to individual groups at random intervals. As they meet with the usher, he quickly has a word with them and sends them off up the stairway to some other place, some other realm. I approach him without warning, catching the man off guard. His eyes widen in surprise, and I know he is judging me. I don't care if I'm not properly dressed for the occasion. "Byron Tremont," I say with confidence. The old-looking man with white hair stares at me, holding his composure with a contemptuous gaze. "Tremont, I need to see him. It's urgent." "You mean Lord Mayor Tremont?" "Lord Mayor what? I mean, yes. He is upstairs. Do you have an appointment?" "An appointment?" I ask, stepping forward with agitation. I feel Kronklich's hand on my shoulder. "Yes, that is what I said, good sir." I grip the edges of the podium with both hands and rattle the foundation. "I don't need an appointment." Before the old man can react, I move to the stairs and begin ascending, despite the feeble protests behind me. I hear Kronklich in the background trying to calm the man. "It's all right, my good man. He is popular, I assure you." I ascend the steps, circling the wall of the chamber, with the swooping vast emptiness to my right. Reaching the top, I am met by 2 scholarly-looking men, one old, one young, and push them apart to get by, dividing them from their close proximity. "Well, I never," says the old man, while the young one with the long flowing hair scowls as if having eaten lemons. The second floor is vast and intense. I have never seen extensive decorations such as these as I part from the stairwell and enter a large banquet hall. I take it all in. Countless support pillars erect into the high ceiling. Large oblong windows cover both extremes of the room from one side to the other. Sunlight glitters through the panes, reflecting off silver and glass vases set on round tables covered in red cloths. Plates and culinary ware covered each table to accommodate a feast for an immense crowd. Along the far back of the chamber, tapestries of red and black diamonds emblazoned the walls, countering the brightness of the room. Slowly, I enter uninvited as servants stop to stare at me, wondering who I am and what I'm doing here. I ignore them, noticing the two large harpsichords facing one another by the windows. A man dressed in a fine gray suit sits at one of its benches while playing a soft melody, stopping every so often to lean forward to tune the pins. Nearby, a man holds a ladder for another man at the top, reaching out with one hand and balancing with the other, a measuring tape dangling from his fingertips. 24 quarters, says the man on the ladder, while pulling a wax candle from his satchel at his side. He places it into the candle tube of one of the many chandeliers hanging from the ceiling at different heights. The chandeliers are different from one another, and I realize these too have multicolored masks hanging from their bases. Like the first floor, servants huddled together scatter about the chamber, talking to one another in deep earnest, but none stand out more profoundly than the familiar voice I hear across the room toward the back. I approach a man with his back to me who is guiding two workers in aligning a particular tapestry, a black cloth with red roses down the length of a molded pillar. A little more, almost, a little more. What are you doing? The two workers stop to stare at me, ignoring the commands of the man with his back to me. The man turns around, following their gaze to match mine, and I come face to face with the man who will grant me passage out of this blasphemous town. His eyes are cold and blue, and his short, dark hair is cropped close to his skull. He wears a dark gray tie knotted at his neck in a fashionable way, accenting the gold trim to his long captain's coat of deep magenta. The look on his face is one of sheer dread. I nod. Hello, Tremont. Kronklich appears next to me with a cup in his hand. That was a hell of a time. What a brash old timid man. He takes a sip from the cup. Oh, hello. You must be Lord Mayor Tremont. Tremont's face turns red. Yes. So good of you to come. His words are flat, without expression, but they hang in the air as a threat. All right, there we go. Chapter 9, Exploration of the Town of Delore. One of the many sites that Tenor and Kronklich go and explore throughout Inquisition. Hello, I'm back. Hi. So, there is another example for you. I'm going to say hi to everybody. Hey, Michaela, how you doing? Mike Peters, hello. Frank is back on Mutiny. How you doing, buddy? Apparently, this video feed was a lot better than the last one, or the last few attempts. So, saying hi, everybody. Kat, hi. Evelyn, hi. Thank you. Nick, very good to see you. So, yeah, so anybody have any questions about what was read? Hi, Judy. I'm here live. If you have any questions for me, this would be the equivalent of a book reading live. Like, say, if we went to a bookstore and you went there in person and I was there in person, this is your chance to say hello and how you doing. So, yeah, Inquisition. It's my new book that's out. It's right here. Just reading from it. It looks backwards probably, right? So it's about almost 600 pages. It's got a little bit of artwork in there. It's got a map area of Tenor's journey through the Cordova Mountains, as I was explaining earlier. This is a standalone book. You can read it without having read the previous book. And it's good stuff. It took me a long time to complete it, but now it's done. And so yeah, I'm just grateful that everybody's here and showing their support. The book is available on a lot of different platforms: Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Kobo. I'm still trying to work on iBooks, and there's a problem with trying to load it on there, but it used to be available on there, now it's not. Now I'm trying to get it back on. I'm on the waiting list for Google Play, so it'll be on there as well eventually. If you haven't checked out I have a bunch of videos that I also do in relation to Inquisition that's on my YouTube channel, so check that out if you get a chance. Later on today, following this live feed and my post up till 6 o'clock, we have Michaela Morgan coming on, who's a steampunk writer. Forgive me if I'm wrong with that, but that's how I take it. His work is very good, and he's an artist as well, so maybe he'll show you some of his artwork. And also, after that, we have Scott Hale, who's going to be coming on. And he's a horror apocalyptic writer. I've read many of his works, very good stuff. He'll be coming on later at 7. And then later on, I'll be finishing up at 8 o'clock. I'll be back on again. Yeah, so, going back to what I was saying earlier about Inquisition. Inquisition is all about Tenor Wolfgang going through the mountains, searching for his son that was kidnapped by the Carnal-Risi, which is a vampire clan that's introduced in this story. A vampire clan who has some kind of direct or indirect relation with Lord Gleason, who is the Lord of Vampires in this world, in this fantasy. And, why do they want Dorian? Dorian is Tenor's son, and he was kidnapped. So he's on this quest to get his son back, and he'll obviously do anything he can, question anything he can, probably go against his own moral judgments to get back his son. What would you do for your loved ones, right? So that's what this story is about. It's metaphor for so many different things out there, especially in the world today. So, yeah. So, like I said, this chapter that I just read was about Tenor versus the people, the difference in structure, how the town is set up, a lot different than probably, say, another town that probably has different political views. The chapter I read before this, and at 3 o'clock, that was Tenor versus the environment, how creatures in the forest come after him and try to slow him down to slow his progression on his ultimate quest. And then later on tonight, I'll be doing Tenor versus the vampire. So I'll be doing an example chapter of when Tenor faces off with one of the vampires, specifically one of the Carnal-Risi. So it should be interesting. We'll see how that goes, see how you like it. But nonetheless, please support. I appreciate any help that you can do. The book is available now. It has been since October 25th. It was published officially. Again, at the pinned post on this Inquisition release party, the pinned post states, there's a grand prize you can enter to win it. All you got to do is buy a copy, whether it's an ebook or a paperback. It can be from Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, Kobo. Either any of those platforms you can get, and all you got to do is post the image, that proof that you bought it, and now that enters you automatically into a drawing to win all that stuff that's listed there that Chrissy Moon so graciously put together for us. So, yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and end this live feed. I'm going to post a few more things in this hour segment, and then I'll let Michaela take over at 6 o'clock. So thanks again for coming on. I don't see any questions, so I'm not going to answer any questions. And I will see you at 8, and I'll have a special guest to show you, okay? So until then, thank you, everybody, and see you soon. Bye.